Black Friday is almost here, and if you are a new, veteran, or intermediate artist looking for some art supplies, I definitely recommend getting acrylic markers. And here are all my recommendations and thoughts on each acrylic marker brand that you can find on TikTok Shop or Amazon. First up is Grabie. I absolutely love Grabie markers. They're so much fun to use. I use them for all my clown OCs and clown designs. My only issue with Grabie, and you'll find this with a lot of the art supplies that I'll list here, is there's not a lot of skin tone range, unless you get their 48 acrylic marker extra fine tip pack. For their brush tip packs, I really like them. They're pretty opaque. And for their paint pen pack, they're nice because you can mix them with water and get a really nice watercolor effect. You do have to work pretty fast though. But overall, 10-10 pack, and you don't get a lot of bleed with these unless you're really going crazy and pressing down on the paper. This is pretty cheap acid-free paper that I'm using for this set. Next up is Shuttle Art. They were the first ever dual tip acrylic brush markers that I ever started using. My only thing is, with all their packs, including their biggest one, there's not a lot of skin tones, especially for darker skin. However, the workaround you can get with this is because they're not as opaque, you can actually blend with these markers and layer over them to get darker shades. They also have an ink control pack, which has a pretty decent range of skin tones, and their ink control packs are very opaque. However, unlike their dual tip markers, you can't overlay them and kind of blend them together, so if you need different colors, you get what you get. And unfortunately for their olive skin tone, it looks pretty orange. Next up is the Flysea acrylic skin tone marker set. Now, I recommend getting the Flysea acrylic skin tone sets with basically any other brand because these are exclusively skin tones. This is what it looks like when I paired up the Flysea paint pens with the Grabie marker paint pens. It came out really well. I love how the characters look. I love how dark the skin tone got. A little bit on the gray side for me, but honestly, this is the best pack when it comes to skin tones for acrylic markers that I could find. Now, keep in mind, you do have to be careful with how you store these and take them out to occasionally use because they are more water-based than acrylic-based. That's why these markers are so cheap, so you gotta be a little bit more careful with them. They also have a brush tip pack version as well, which I highly appreciate, because now I can pair them with any brush tip markers that I'm using. This one was the Shuttle Art markers, and Grabie dual tone markers. And last but definitely not least, the Arrtx markers. Now, I recommend getting the 60-pack Arrtx markers just because you have more of a range and a slightly darker skin tone color. And if you're looking for affordable dual tip acrylic markers that are more opaque, so you don't want to blend anything, definitely recommend the Arrtx markers. This is a page that I'm currently working on. This is how it's coming out. You can layer really well, and I love how well the white layers. The fine tip side is a little fat for my liking, but it's easily fixed. You can just go back and smooth over with any of the colors because they layer so well and you can barely tell the difference. Now, I really recommend using acrylic markers, especially if you have cheaper sketchbooks, because acrylic markers do not bleed. You can layer over them easily, so if you make a mistake in your sketchbook, you don't have to get rid of the whole page. And a lot of these markers all have a decent amount of ink, so you can keep using them, and fill up a whole page and not have to worry too much about them running out anytime soon. The only problem I've run into with all of my acrylic markers is sometimes if I layer them over without waiting for the paint dry, which is only like a couple extra seconds, then sometimes the paper will start to come up or the layer below it will come up so you can see the original color. Oh, and I forgot, Ohuhu has their own paint pens. So this page actually isn't Grabie markers, this is the Ohuhu paint pen markers. They have their acrylic version of paint pens. I will say there is a slight difference when it comes to the quality of the Ohuhu acrylic paint pens compared to the Grabie paint pens. However, Ohuhu is cheaper than the Grabies and you're getting a smaller pack, both in size of the markers and the amount of colors you have. The Grabie markers are this size, and the Ohuhu markers, which come in this package, are around the same size as these. However, I noticed I had to press down a lot more with the Ohuhu. It kind of felt like they didn't fill it with as much acrylic compared to the Grabie. and I definitely found myself shaking the marker and pressing down on it a lot more. However, if you're looking for a Grabie alternative, this is what I recommend. It's pretty decent. Your work will just take a little bit longer. Also, I very much appreciate their little package that they have for this. Now that's all my brands that I recommend for acrylic markers.